Thing. Sounds like there's some drama.
There's definitely no.
Called.
Oh my God. It begins. Life.
I see, like, everyone plays a part, right?
Yeah.
So,
Of course.
Thing Called Lif3.
What do you call it? What are we talking about?
All right. Welcome back to Thing Called Lif3. I'm Dr. Damaris.
I'm Bianca.
And I'm Kareem.
And we're going to jump right into it today. So today's topic, we were talking about this a while back. It's actually, we titled it Modern Day Parenting. And a couple of reasons why. I think that the family unit, as we're used to seeing from when we were younger, has changed quite a bit to what we're seeing now. I grew up in your typical two-parent household, 2 kids, and that's not the norm anymore, sadly. And I personally myself obviously have a blended family, and so I have 2 kids of mine and my husband's daughter that lives with us as well. So, but even that's not the norm. Like, usually the norm is a single parent, kids, and interestingly enough, not just moms, but I've met quite a few single dads that have their kids living with them too. So it's quite different. And with that, obviously with everything comes with challenges, right? But that in itself brings its own challenges. Now, Bianca, you actually are what was I going to say?
I'm a blended on top of blended on top of blended on top of blended on top of blended. Like, it's
personal experience.
It's my family tree. It's, you might as well just throw that shit in the fire because I don't even know where to begin or end. That's how big it is. That's literally how big it is. So the way it goes is, I was born. My
wow. Is that how you're here?
Exactly.
That's crazy.
She's not AI.
I was born, biological father, mom. My mom married my dad. My biological father was not in my life. Was raised by my dad, which most people would call him a stepdad, but I call him my dad. That's just how it is. I have his last name and everything. Then my sisters were born. And keep in mind, all while this is happening in my household, I have my biological father having kids elsewhere.
Papa was rolling stone.
So then my
Casanova.
parents get divorced. My dad remarries, has more kids. My mom doesn't have any more kids, doesn't get remarried.
What's up, dope mom?
But then it's like I grew up with my siblings that my dad had. So it's like even though they're not
Your non-bio dad or your bio
yes,
dad.
my biological father, we don't even talk about him, so he's just non-existent. The only thing he does is spread the seeds, so that's how I try to keep up with those siblings.
Spread the
But
seed.
my dad,
Why'd she say it like that?
because that's practically what it is.
Sperm donor.
Oh my
My dad gets remarried, has kids. I grew up with those siblings. Then gets remarried again. Doesn't have kids the third time, but those kids were young enough to be around us that his wife had from her marriage.
Oh, so her kid.
Oh, so he married into children is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, both
Okay.
times, but still, like, it's just like a blended on top of blended on top of blended. So it's funny because, like, when I go see my siblings that my biological father had, because I keep in touch with them, their mom calls me daughter. Like, I'm her daughter, you know? So it's like, it's very confusing dynamic. Like, I always tell people I need to write it down and draw a picture because
So,
it's
but
hard to
you're
keep up.
technically you're one of one.
I'm an only child technically because I only have half siblings or step siblings. That's all
Yeah.
I have. I don't have anybody that's full blooded.
Yeah.
So I'm
okay.
technically an only child, if you want to. But that's it. That's what I mean by, like, it's blended on top of blended on top of blended on top of, like, it's hard to explain to people because they're like, they get confused and they're like, hold on, what? And then you have to backtrack. That's why sometimes when I'm explaining it, I usually draw a picture, like a graph. And I'm like, this is how it goes.
It's like trees.
Mm-hmm. So
here,
it's
tree
very
here, tree
confusing, but it is crazy.
So like Neapolitan family?
It's crazy, like, to me, because I'm like, I see blended families all the time. Like, I see how my cousins have married into blended families. I see people I've gone to school with in blended families. But, like, my dynamic, I'm like, this is like a whole different type of blended. I don't know too many people with the same story. Like, it's very rare when I find people with that type of blended. They're like, damn. So,
What about
So,
yours?
welcome. We are the same. Hi, how are you doing?
Oh, look, we didn't even know this. Here we go.
so you're an only child too? Okay.
Pretty much. So, like, same thing with me. My dad was, I mean, look at me. I'm handsome. My dad's handsome too, right? So, we that's my dog. He gave me the nod. Anyway,
Bromance.
so my dad's first child is a girl. Her name's Adonis. My dad wanted all of his kids to have like names that mean something. So Adonis was with a whole nother woman. Then comes me with a whole nother woman. But I'm one of one, just like you. So me and my mom, and then she had 2 other kids with 2 other men. So like no one is related really, but I just call them all my brothers, right?
Yeah.
So I have the same.
Also one of one. See?
Yeah. That's why.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's very hard to find somebody like that, and especially because like,
Hi.
right?
So Casanova too, sperm.
Oh my God. That man.
See, but
Okay.
whenever you have spoken about your dad, like in previous episode, you're talking about the man that actually like the same blood runs through your veins, correct?
Yeah. Him and my mom. Yeah.
I'm not. I'm talking about the man that raised me. Like, I have his last name. That's not when I say like my biological father. I'm talking about just the person that.
But you're still one of one if you think about it.
No,
because
yeah, for
your
sure.
mom and your dad had, and then he rolled off, and then you were adopted. But that you're still that one child from those 2 parents.
Yeah.
Same thing like me. So
And it's crazy though, because like I've told people before, like, oh, these are my brothers, these are my sisters. And what's funny is that even though some of us are half and some of us are step, they all say we look alike. But it's not necessarily that we look alike. It's just we have same mannerisms, we have same characteristics, we have same. And there might be like some features facially that we kind of resemble each other, because like you have to like see it this way. Like, I'm the only child here, but then I have the half siblings here. The step siblings are here, but then it's like some of them share the same parent, or maybe they share one sibling. So it's like we kind of resemble each other, but in a way we don't.
same nationality as well, or no?
No, some of us no. The ones that I grew up with under the same roof, we're all Mexican. The other ones half white, half Mexican.
Okay.
So
So just Mexican then.
yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But, yeah.
I was a joke.
But yeah, the other ones are half white, half Mexican. Even on like my biological father's side, I have certain siblings that are full-blooded Mexican, mom and dad, and then some are half Mexican, half white. So
Okay.
that's the only thing that differentiates.
Well, they also say like, after a while, like people who have been married for a long time, they start looking like each other.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, one, for identification purposes, I think that's how nature makes you. But also, if you're eating the same types of foods, I think your body will just kind of like, go that way. Like, you remember the fat family I told
Oh
you
my
about?
God, no! Don't
Please.
start with
What?
I will cut this whole thing.
Every damn time.
I miss that every time. It's been a whole year. I haven't said anything.
A whole year he's been itching.
It's been a whole year. I haven't said anything. Just
But
kidding.
it's very true. Like, I remember one time my sisters got upset because like my dad and I, like the way we handle situations with one another, it's funny because my sisters are like, I don't get it. And it was like, my dad and I understand each other in that dynamic because we act the same in that dynamic. And it's weird. Like, I think I mentioned it in an episode one time where it's like, we could be upset at each other, and then the way that we apologize to each other is just sitting by each other on the sofa watching a TV and be like, hey, are you hungry? You want to go get something?
Yep.
We cut that out. That episode.
No. I don't think we did. Or did we?
There was
No.
something you wanted.
I don't think we cut that part,
No.
but I don't
Okay.
remember. But
Okay.
but yeah,
I
so
remember
it's
that
like
one.
that's how we handle things. Like, that's how we say sorry to each other and we amend things. Like, other times it's like we're just like, hey, But like with my mom or with my siblings, I don't handle the situation like that. It's just with my dad, and it's because I was raised by him, so that's how we.
That's how you communicate.
Yeah, that's how we communicate with
Yeah.
each other. Like, it's always been like that. And my sisters don't get it. Like, it's like it irks them, but I'm like, it works for dad and I. Like, I don't know, like, we're good. Like,
Yeah.
believe me, they don't get it, but it is crazy whenever you have to explain your story, because I don't know how many times you've probably explained your story and people
I
look
don't-
at you like, I don't get it.
Like, first off, I'm not that interesting, so there's that one thing, and then the other thing is like, when it comes down to it, it's my family, so I don't differentiate. Somebody's
Yeah.
like, well, how's your brother doing? Which one? The one that does this, or the one that does that? That's how I differentiate for
Exactly.
everybody else. But I don't go, oh, you mean
Yep.
Elroy's kid, or Grant's kid, or I'm just making up names now.
See, but I think I've kind of so I've noticed something about myself. Whenever I was younger, certain cousins of mine actually know my story, right? And whenever I would say, yeah, my dad this, my dad that, they would say, which one? Then I would sit there confused and be like, what do you mean, which one?
Well, yeah, because
to me, I was like,
they're all just on my family.
yeah, and I was like, but sometimes I would look at them and I would be like, I only have one dad.
That's an American divisive thing. Everybody wants to have a step cousin or a step. So, like, we're family.
Yeah.
Like, we're all one. It doesn't matter if we're under the same roof and I have to deal with your ass. We're family. You know what I mean?
So I think that's the only thing that, like, I would look confused because I was like, I only have one dad, one person that's raised me.
Should I consider y'all family?
Yeah.
I mean, we've been around each other long enough. I mean, I know some of y'all's mannerisms and stuff, how to pick up on certain things. I know when y'all are frustrated. I know when y'all are happy. I mean, just being around people. I mean, you have extended family outside of your family as well. Sure. So, like, I think that's just more of an American divisive thing. Like, oh, this is my stepbrother. Fuck that.
It's funny because I have done a little bit of research on that because obviously I have a blended family and I have now my husband's daughter who lives with us, right? Which I think makes it even a little bit more different than just my stepdaughter that's here every other weekend kind of thing. So one of the things that I read was to try not to differentiate
1,000%
between her and my kids.
You don't want to alienate them.
When we're out, these are my kids.
Correct.
And
period.
These are my daughters, and this is my son.
Period.
And I make a point of it because
I love that you do that too.
Because she lives with us.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want her to feel like
she's an outcast
I'm here,
or something.
I'm different,
yeah.
You know, and I know she already has a little bit of that because of the age differences with the kids. So that's something I know with us, we struggle a little bit because, like, my daughter's 14. She's, you know, in a whole different mindset than
it's like
an
chicken math.
11-year-old. Oh, yeah.
It's like a what?
Chicken math. Then, we'll talk about that on another episode.
Yeah. Then an 11-year-old who's still in elementary school. My daughter's about to go to high school.
Yeah.
She's about to go to middle school, but she's still in elementary school. So it's really different. So
there's a big gap there.
From you guys' experience, what pointers or tips would you give me as a mom in this situation? You know, as obviously I'm her stepmom, I'm not her biological mom. So there's also a boundary there that I have to be careful with because she does have a biological mom that's still in the picture. Not overstepping, but also being, I guess, inclusive. From your experience, what are you guys tips, recommendations, suggestions, do not do's?
Well, see, okay, so to me, as much as you want to as a parent to not make a difference, at the end of the day, there will still be a difference in that stepchild's mind. At least that's how it was for me. Even though I was raised by my parents and my parents loved me just as much as they loved my siblings that they had together, there's things that my point of view is completely different from my sisters. And my sisters will never understand that point of view. Even when I've explained it to them in different ways, they will never understand it because I already come with trauma embedded dealing with the situation that I dealt with firsthand.
Prior.
And then it's like, even though my dad loves me, even though I have my dad's last name and he raised me just like, you know, his own, like, didn't make any difference. My mind tells me there's a difference. And I one thing that I will always advise stepchildren or just children in general that come from a blended family, like, always go to therapy. I think therapy helps because to me, it's like you can talk about things that people might not understand, but I guess it just depends. But I feel like kids have to grow into their own. Kids have to figure things out for themselves. Kids have to see that point of view, and they're going to learn it as they get older and they become an adult. And you start to appreciate your parents, not only as an adult, but like, I guess as that stepchild, you see how much your step parent does for you. And you're like, damn, like my own parent didn't do this. And you're like, okay. So you have more of appreciation for them. You have more of a, I guess,
respect, I guess.
Yeah, like a respect because you're like, you took me in, you took care of me, you loved me.
Didn't have to.
And you didn't have to. Like, you had the choice to walk away.
Right.
Whereas somebody that was biologically related to me just chose to walk away and chose not to do this at all.
Right.
So to me, it's like, I think a child learns as they get older. It takes time. And even if you don't want to make a difference and you can try really hard, I feel like there still is a difference in their mind, per se. Because that's how it was for me growing up. Like, and I would always try to explain stuff to my sisters, but they
just couldn't get it. Well, I mean, because they've never lived through that experience. Like you're coming at it older, right?
Yeah, there's a 5-year age gap and a 3-year age gap between my sisters and I. And what's crazy too is that I remember when I was little, and I would. How
little are we talking?
I think I would still see my biological father until the age of like 10.
Okay.
Like, but it was on and off. It wasn't a consistent thing.
No,
It was like
for sure.
every 3 to 5 years, whenever he felt like it. But I remember him picking me up sometimes, and my younger sister, the one that's 5 years younger than me, she would cry and she'd be like, "Why can't I go?" Not understanding why I was leaving.
Yeah.
She would always cry to my mom and be like, "Why can't I go? I want to go.
Yeah.
I want to hang out too. Like,
Yep.
I want to." And it's like, no, this isn't fun. Like, this isn't fun for me. Like, believe me, I'd rather much stay home, like, than go and do this. So to me, it was like, I never understood their point of view to understand how they felt whenever it's like, why is Bianca gone? Where is she going? Who's this man taking, like, my sister?
Yeah.
That's what they were seeing, where I was seeing, like, I have to leave my family behind. And they don't ever have to experience leaving siblings behind or their parents behind because they have to go do visitation. You know what I mean? So, like, there's different perspectives with kids. And it's crazy because you're like, damn. And you see that when you get older and you're like, that's a lot of trauma for a child.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot.
That's heavy.
It is. And it's like, and it sucks sometimes because I feel bad
I
because
hate that
it's
you
like,
had to deal with that.
well, it's life. And
Yeah.
to me, it sucks because I know some parents try really hard to make things work. It just doesn't work. Other people that I've seen, that I've gone to school with, it's like they were young, they had kids, they didn't get married. And then they got married, had more kids, got divorced, then got married again. And I'm like, some people my age are already on their third marriage. I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah.
And I'm like, y'all aren't even 50 yet. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's to me, it's crazy. But I don't know if there's truly any pointers. I'd say just being yourself, trying to communicate and trying to figure out their love language, like we talked before. But in all honesty, the child's going to go through their life the way they see it and try to maneuver and make things easier for themselves. But therapy is probably a big thing that a kid should go through. All kids.
I
Like-
tell Kent that all the time, and he hasn't taken his daughter to therapy, but I think she would probably benefit from that. 'Cause
For
it is
sure.
different, you know?
Especially because, like, think about it. It's unfortunately, this is how it is. Like, it's 2 against 1. She doesn't have a sibling here to lean on, even though those are her siblings. And she's gonna probably go really close and very, like, to a point where it's like she's gonna grow up with them and be like, "Hey, these are my siblings," right? There's still a difference there. It's like my sisters; they were always together.
It'll take a while before it even gets to that.
Yeah,
it'll take a few years. I think it's not until they're all older that they'll be like, "Oh yeah,
They'll appreciate it.
Oh,
more.
for sure.
Oh yeah, we were siblings." You know,
Yeah.
now it's like, yeah, you know, separate.
Because my sisters and I my dad's been in my life since I was 2. Of course, he knew me before then, but he didn't actually, like, start dating my mom and was with my mom till I was 2. But what's crazy is that my sisters and I, we grew up all together in the same house. But as we got older, that's whenever we were noticing things that were different. And we were like, because beforehand, we couldn't really tell much. Because you're like, not that you're naive, but you don't really understand the world. You know, so there's
When you're
things.
little, you're not thinking about it.
Yeah, you're not thinking about it. But to me, what's funny too is like I want to know what your perspective is in the sense of, because you're a male, first off, and how you felt as growing up technically as an only child.
I mean, okay, let me start this whole thing off with this. Like, I'm in no place to give you any kind of advice. I think you're one of the best parents that has ever graced this earth. As many things that you have to put yourself through. The thing is being a great. Sorry, that was me. My bad. Oh no! I always turn it off, and for some reason I didn't this time. Apologize. Give me 1 second, y'all.
He said you're the best parent because you be whooping ass.
No, it's not. And then the cat. Really, bro?
It's funny that you said that though, because I've seen Damaris where she's like, okay, like you're nice about it, and then you're like, hey, I already told you to do this, do it. I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, as parents go, I think the thing is you have to be the example, and that's the issue. That's why you have so many people getting married and divorced. You know, back in the day, and you know, we're talking about, you know, parenting, right? Grandma used to get her ass whooped. I'm talking about my family now. My great grandmother used to get her ass whooped by my great grandfather because he was a drunk. She never left though. That was the thing, the linchpin that kept the family together. And then all of a sudden, my grandmother came along and saw that abuse and was like, "Not me." And as soon as she saw any kind of like sideways, instead of just being able to be her full feminine self around a man, she'd run. So that's where all these different divisions start coming from. You know, her mother stuck through it all, and instead of her like mothering, because that's when you marry your husband, you just become his mother. You know that, right? Not in like direct way. It's just you're mothering him or teaching him how to handle you. So if you don't stand up for yourself in certain instances, he knows, well, I'm going to step over that. Just like a kid will sit there and poke the shit up. Mommy, if you like, look, you shut the fuck up. I'm talking right now. I've been in church with my grandmother and just, grandma, ma, we'll call her mother. She just like a real quick smack to the face, pow, right in the face. And I'm like, where the hell did that come from? Well, because I'm annoying her. That's how she dealt with it. But other parents, you see them, they grab the kid firmly. They'll take him off to the corner and be like, they'll whisper something. The kid will put its head down, and then she'll come back nice and graceful and finish her conversation. For me, that's the parent that I always wanted, not the abusive one. But my grandmother grew up seeing abuse, so she used that as her way of talking to us, right? You do it a whole different way. I think you got that from your mother. She did the feminine thing. She finessed y'all. She did the certain things, said certain things a certain way, and then if she had to, she raised her voice. Like, hey, I know I said this once already.
Yeah, I grew up in the generation where your mom gave you a look.
Oh, yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying.
You knew that look meant
she gave you
a certain
breath.
I don't stop, my ass was going to get whooped.
For real.
See, I think that helps. I think that helps that Damaris came from a household that was together, because you have I don't know how to explain this, but
it's a foundation.
Yeah, your
that's what it
foundation is stronger. So whenever you are raising a family, even if it's blended, it comes with a certain healing compared to if you come from a broken home, you create a broken home,
and then it's just going to perpetuate itself throughout history.
Different perspective on that though is that yes and no. Yes, I don't come from a broken home that has had different people coming in and out, and kids and all that. However, I don't have the experience of dealing with that situation that I can then share and, enlighten my kids in a certain way to be like, oh, yeah, because when this situation happens, this is how you may feel about it. Like, I don't. And sometimes, obviously, I'm blind to that because I'm just, in my head, it's like one big happy family and we're all together and we're all going to be great. Yeah. And meanwhile, the kids are like, I don't want to do nothing with this one, or I don't want to go there with that one, and she wants to do this, but I want to do this, and
then you give them a look,
and you want to. It's different.
No, for real, like my aunt, even now, like any one of my aunts, like so I was raised by 7 women. Might not seem that way, but I was raised by 7 women, and like when a woman gives you a certain look, like you don't want to know what's on the other side of that motherfucker. It's just like, okay, I think I fucked up. Let me back the hell down real quick. And then I'll reapproach her later and try to figure out what I did. You know what I mean? Especially when they're engaged. For some reason, children, and I get it, they're attention whores. That's what you children are. You're little attention whores. No, think about it. If you're sitting there doing something, you could be reading a book. Your kid will walk right up to you and be like, hey, like ain't nothing going on. Like I'm busy right now.
So quick sidebar, this is the part of when I'm uploading episodes and it says this is appropriate for children, this is the part I'll remember when I click nope.
Oh my God. I always hit no.
Growing up, did you actually grow up under the same roof with one of your siblings, or no? You grew up with them? So real quick, small snippet. Live with my mom and her 2 other children from 2 other men. Then
conversation, following your arms like.
From 2 other men, and then when I moved, because I mean you can kind of hear the congestion now, but I at the time I had asthma, and in St. Thomas, which at the time seemed like more of a third world country, we didn't have the type of medicines that they have here in the United States. So my dad reached out to my grandmother who lived here in Houston, H-Town. That's why I love this place. Saved my life, really. Flew here, took some medicine. I was fine within minutes, right? But like that part of my life, I did not really get to engage with my brothers because they were smaller.
Are you the oldest?
I am the oldest
Okay.
in that section of kids, right? I am not the oldest when it comes to my biological father. I have a sister who's older that I've never met.
So you're the second oldest on your dad's side, but the oldest on your mom's.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So when I moved here, it was just me and my grandmother. My grandmother had already raised her kids, so technically I was like her last child. Mm-hmm. She's already raised all her kids, which she didn't really, because in the island culture, because your grandmother is pretty much retired and your mom is working, guess what happens? You get left with your grandmother. Mm-hmm. So I was raised by my grandmother while my parents went off and lived their lives. What's wrong?
that beeping?
No, it's the kitchen.
Okay.
While they went off and lived their lives. So like I was basically an only child living in my grandmother's house who's already had children. Mm-hmm. So like the rules were hard and fast. She didn't want to have to re-raise a child. So I either learned it or I got my ass whooped. It was one of the two. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think I became, well, not think, I know that's why I became so heavily codependent, because everything came through her. I looked for validation through her for every single thing in my life. Mm-hmm. And then once I got older, I noticed that, hey, that's not how you're supposed to live your life. You're supposed to live your life based on what feels good to you and what you believe in. Mm-hmm. And I don't believe that somebody should control your life. I think somebody should be an example, just like you. God damn, girl, you do a lot. I mean, think about it. You run 2 different businesses. You're a doctor as well. We have the podcast. There's animals that are surviving because of you. I'm just saying. I'm listing. I'm listing things, right?
I like when you say doctor, because sometimes I forget. I'm like, she does operations on the side. Like I forget sometimes. I'm like,
I wish.
Sorry. Yes, she's a book doctor. Is what we call it.
What like?
Well, because there's PhD, and then there's MDs, right?
I have a doctorate in business administration.
There we go.
It's a DBA.
So how do you ever know the difference when someone's like, oh, I'm doctor such and such? Like how?
It's an MD.
Yeah, medical doctor.
Like, when they're introducing themselves, they don't.
Oh yeah, they don't specifically say, right?
You can ask a doctor and what.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm like.
Then I would say doctor.
She's over there doing operations, sewing people up. She's all right next.
So when it came up, Dr. Dre, so he operates on people? No, I was kidding. but honestly, I think it's just. Parents just need to be an example to their children. So if you're like, for instance, these people in Houston and y'all's driving are terrible. Okay. When you're driving and your kid's in the back and you're cursing, what do you think your kid's going to do when they start driving? They're going to be road raging just like you. I told my girl today, I was like, people need to drive in Houston as if they're driving with their best friend's child in the back, because y'all don't give a fuck about your own kids. But if y'all cared about your best friend kid, you would never curse in front of you. It's just like borrowing somebody's car.
I will say.
You always drive somebody else's car better than you ever drive your own. That's how y'all need to think when it comes to life. And that's how I see you approach parenting. You show up in ways that most people don't think that they should show up for their kids.
I will say, though, I do.
Your example. You're a good. What'd you say?
I have cursed in my car in front of the kids and then turned around and be like, don't repeat that.
And they're like,
that's what I'm saying.
They're over there taking notes.
But I guarantee you, if Bianca, if that is in your future, or mine, that's in our future, if we ever had a kid and the kid was in the back, you would never curse.
Because
you'd just be like, nah, I ain't cursing, because then they'd be like, how'd they learn that word?
Yeah, you're definitely more.
See, but
what I'm saying?
This is what's funny that you say that. So I'm like, with my nieces and nephews, whenever they're in the car, I'm very like cautious.
But were you by yourself?
No. But like my brothers and I, there's a 20-year age gap and an 18 years age gap. And I laugh because I treat them like as if we're the same age. Like either I'm their same age or they're my same age.
So we silly
talk,
as fuck.
Yeah, we talk the same. We do everything the same. And what's funny is at times where I've taken them to like their practices for school, they're like, roll down all the windows and put the music all the way up. And I'm like, okay, let's go. Like, it's like, like we're going to the beach or something. Like, it doesn't even matter that it's like their precious cargo sitting in the back. Like,
right.
We're just like, let's go, So it's funny because even though there's an age gap, as big as it is, we treat each other like we're the same age.
Yeah.
But like my nieces and nephews, I'm like, oh no.
And they're probably the same age as them. But
No, all of
They're
them are
not?
younger. No, all of
Oh,
them are
wow.
younger. Yeah, all of them are younger. All my nieces and nephews are like the age of 10 and younger.
okay.
Yeah, no, they're way younger. My brothers are teenagers already, about to graduate soon from high school.
yeah.
That shit's scary, but yeah, it's with my
Men be
nieces and
men.
nephews. I'm like, oh, we got to do this, we got to do that. I'm like, hold on, where's your mom? Like, like I'm all freaking
Yeah.
out, like I've never done this before. I'm the oldest, and I've helped raise many siblings, so it's like I got it down. I don't need to call your mom.
So I think that's what it is. That's the only example. I mean, the only advice I can give you is just, I mean, and even parents out there, just be what you want your kids to be. Like even now, like me and my girl are thinking about, going to that next level, which is having kids. Like even sitting around the house, I'm like, man, you know what? I don't want the house to look like this. So I start tidying up. It's not because of her or because of me. It's just because in the future,
Practice.
I don't want them kids walking around and be like, oh, well, mom and dad throwing shit all over the place. I'm going to throw shit all over the place. And the house just looks like, it looks like a fucking mess all the time. Hell no. So now I'm trying to change my map.
And they do pick up on your examples.
That's what I'm saying. I'm
Even
trying.
the one, especially the ones you don't want them to.
That's why I'm trying to change my the way I operate now, so that when my kids do come around, they get the best version of me, and then they become the best version of themselves, and then they can turn that into the grandkids who have the best version of themselves and perpetuate that forward, as opposed to breaking up family. I want to fuck everybody in sight and see how many kids I can have.
Yeah.
Octo mom.
Yeah. But see, I would say being a step parent in general, not that being a parent isn't a hard job, but being a step parent, I think, is harder because you have to be more cautious of your actions and your words.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Because some kids that are still, have a relationship with their biological parent, like they'll go back and be like, oh, well, such and such person did this and they did that. And it's like, what? And then there's arguments that happen. You're just like, there's always confrontation. But if the co-parent, like to me, if you can co-parent properly, because I've seen it firsthand with some of my cousins and their blended families, whenever the person that they marry can co-parent with that other parent of their child, it makes things run smoother.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever the co-parenting is not, it does cause friction in the actual household at times. And I've seen that firsthand, dealing with my experiences, like when I still would get like visitations and seeing how my dad would react and my mom would react, like after I would get dropped off back home and stuff like that.
Like,
it does, like a kid picks up on a lot of things. Like they're more aware than you realize. And
Dude,
it's crazy.
they're like little sponges.
Yeah.
So-
I think too, like just growing up, like, I don't know about you, like I notice things. So for instance, I'll give you an example. When some of my cousins would take like family photos, as a child growing up the way I did, I would sometimes look at their photos and be like, why is the stepchild on the outside? Why is it the stepchild in the middle? Like how their children are that they had with their husband. That's how my mind would work. Like when I would look at photos that my cousins would post and I would be like,
well, because you've lived that.
Yeah, so I would look.
So you can see it.
Because like my dad never did that. He would make sure like my siblings and I, we were all like,
Yeah.
I was never pushed off to the side. I was never talked to different, treated different, never nothing differently. I had my own room just like everybody else. But when I look at certain people, I'm like, well, why is this kid over here and not with the other kids that y'all had to get? Like sometimes I'm like, that's weird. And other times I'm like, okay, maybe it's just me overthinking.
Or it could be a height
It could
thing.
be.
It could
Yeah,
be a
you
height
know?
thing. Like for instance, with you. I mean, she's the youngest. She's the shortest one. Usually, short ones are up front or on the side because you can see them better. You
But
know,
that's how my brain works. Where most people would just look at it and be like, "What do you mean it's a family photo?"
Right,
And I'm
right,
like,
right.
but my experience, I'd be like, no, that's not just.
And sometimes people just get in where they fit.
Yeah. And
Correct.
it's funny though, because
Correct.
that's something that I have to work on because I'm like, I'm seeing through a broken lens because that's how I came
That
up.
was your experience.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean other people see it that way. So sometimes it's like, okay, maybe I'm over analyzing something that's not really there.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I do have a wish though. I'm not going to tell you like what you should do, but this is what I wish would happen in all families. Right. Boundaries need to be set from the beginning. Like when a child comes into the home, that child needs to sit down with the whole family and be like, hey, look, you're now part of this family. I'm not going to treat you any different than anybody else. If I tell you to brush your teeth, I've asked the kids, when I tell you to brush your teeth, what you need to do? And they chime up. Like, you hear that? That's how I run this house. And I expect you to do the same so you can respect my house because I'm here to take care of you and make sure you are raised the right way. I'm not saying you're raised the wrong way, but this is the way I like raising children in my house. And I think if that initial conversation, now granted, if it's a baby, I get it. You know, you can't talk to a baby.
Right. Yeah.
They're gonna assimilate as time goes on. But if it's a kid who, you know, has come along and they already have their kind of own like way of living, that from the jump, the two parents need to sit down with the other kids and that child, be like, look, in this house, we go to bed at whatever time, you know, this is when we eat dinner or whatever. I think those rules and boundaries need to be set because kids need structure, especially when they're young. If you don't give them any structure, the worst thing the thing that's going to happen, they're going to try to run your house. And then there's conflict. Now you and your new husband or new wife or whatever are now arguing because those boundaries never set in the beginning. So that's my hope. Okay. I'm not going to tell you how to raise y'all's children, but my hope is that if that ever came to where, you know, you're having two blended families coming together outside of like, there's age gaps, right? So like I said, if there's a baby or whatever, and they're not conscious of all that, fine. If they're 27, 80, you know, 50, 60 years old, don't fucking matter. They're already out your house.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the family unit, the people who are living day in, day out, eating your food up, okay? Using up your lights. You know, consuming your life. That's what children do. They consume the things that you give to them. If they're going to be consumers, you need to teach them how to consume properly in your house. That's how I would want it.
Yeah, and I've done that a little bit, but definitely not with everything. Like there's certain things like
it has to be everything. It has to.
Hey, everyone has to wash their dishes when they're done eating, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't.
All of it. Chore list, whatever.
Right. So with things like that, yeah, and then like. Certain things is a little difficult, obviously, because my kids are such different ages. Like, I'm not telling my 17-year-old when he needs to go to bed. You know,
that's what I'm saying. Like, there's levels to it, right?
Your ass to bed right
now.
Yeah, and I do sometimes. If he gets loud, I'm like, hey, I'm trying to sleep. You need to go to bed. But yeah, and
put your headphones on.
Definitely. So, like for example, I can give my kid the look,
right,
and know that the look means.
Yeah, we serious.
We have
About
problems.
to fuck you up.
I cannot give my stepdaughter the look.
Oh, you have to.
I can't. No,
you have to.
There is a boundary there.
Initiation,
that
baby.
I have to be careful with because I am not her biological.
Don't
mother,
matter.
You know,
this is your house. She's breathing the air.
I think there's a
hang on. She's breathing the air that you were providing for her. This AC ain't free. These lights ain't free. The food in that kitchen ain't free. Y'all all pay for that shit.
I'll look at my husband.
No,
give him the look that he needs to give.
Because now you're alienating her.
No, I'm not alienating her.
I think there's
depending
on the age. I think
that's what I'm saying.
He needs to be able to manage that situation in a way that doesn't put me in a position that would get me in some sort of discussion with her mother.
Well, and that's what I'm saying.
There has to be like the boundaries. Situation.
Like my hope again.
About that.
If y'all, again, I don't know how y'all started it, but like in the beginning when she first got here, the way I would have hoped it would have went down. Y'all sit down in the living room, turn all TVs off, put your cell phones away. Look, welcome. I know her name, but I'm not gonna say.
Yeah.
Welcome, Crystal. Hi, Crystal. Thank you for coming to the house or whatever. Now this is how we run the house here. Are we all in agreement, kids? Yes, ma'am. Right? Because you don't say ma'am in my house, man. Somebody's coming to, what's it called, a chancla? I think it's coming, baby.
He said the chancla.
It's coming. It's coming. No,
flying like a fucking frisbee,
like
a boomerang.
I'll tell you Caribbean justice, right? So this is a real quick story. I had talked back to one of my teachers, Mrs. Sims. I talked back to one of my teachers. She's one of the best teachers I ever had. But, you know, as a kid, I'm rambunctious, right? Talked back to my teacher. She called my grandmother. My grandma was like, oh, really? Okay. So I got home. My grandmother whipped me. My grandmother called my aunt. My aunt came over. She whipped me. She called my other aunt. My other aunt came over. She whipped me. Then my uncle came over. He whipped me. And then my dad finally got off work. Then he whipped me. I got 5 ass whippings that day. Because they don't want their name.
Because you got a nap in between or what?
My God.
No, it's every time you get a whooping, you got to take a shower. Now the reason why that happens is because again in the island tradition or island families, your name is what matters. So if your
reputation,
correct. So if I'm acting up and they hear Harvey or whatever, we have several different names in our family, but any one of those family names and you are the one messing up. trust me, they're gonna right that ship super quick.
Yeah.
So that's how it goes from jump. That is what I'm used to. Now, in today's society, kids want to call what's it called, CPS and all that stuff.
Yeah.
My grandma used to always tell me, "Hey, look, call CPS. You'll be dead before they get here."
Godly.
I was like, "Oh shit."
My mom would always say, "I need a vacation."
Yeah, I told you. You see the type of difference.
Yeah.
She was raised in a very conflict oriented like background. So conflict's gonna come to me however it comes, right? So she saw the abuse, but she turned the abuse into structure or kind of discipline, sorta. But it was still pretty hard. But I learned my lesson through all that. Like, don't talk back to grown-ups or to your elders. That's not what you do, especially when you're carrying this name. And a lot of y'all out there don't have any pride in your name. That's why y'all talk back to people. Y'all shoot people out of nowhere. Oh, you talking back to me? I'm going to go get my gun. Think about if that was your brother or your sister or your cousin or somebody in your family. You want somebody to go get a gun to go shoot them, but you think you have the right to go do that on yourself? That's because you don't have any self-respect and you don't have any pride in your own name. I am going to walk through this life with my name tied to me. When I die, they're going to put it on my actual.
Uh-oh.
Someone's about to get their ass.
I don't even want
No, this ain't my grandma's house. This ain't my grandma's house. Nobody getting their ass beat.
I was like, like whenever we're going into the store, do not ask for anything. And
Don't touch nothing.
And you used to tell me, touch with your eyes and what was it?
Touch with your eyes and not with your hands.
Touch with your eyes and look with your hand. No, what is it? Touch with your eyes and look with your hands, or no? Yeah. Exactly.
No,
touch
we
with-
weren't allowed to touch shit. Not
No,
even
you're
with
not-
No, that's what
touch.
she's saying.
Not
She's
even
saying-
hover
look at your
over
eyes.
it. Don't
Yeah.
even.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, again, like the pride that comes with your last name is what should drive you as a human being. If you don't have that type of pride, you're not really a human. You're just some kind of asshole. And there's a lot of y'all out there, and y'all should need to reevaluate yourselves. Yeah, I might talk like this, but like I'm like genuinely, I really pay attention to the way I walk through life because I'm an example of my parents. So if somebody were ever to say, Kareem Harvey, if y'all heard my name in other people's circles, y'all hardly hear anything negative about me unless somebody hates me because I don't like them or, I don't let them into my circle because they're just not worthy of being in my circle. And they might hate on me because of that, but I keep my circle tight. And the only reason why is because my name can only stretch so far. I'm not going to let all these randos in here. If you represent who I am as a friend, you get to be in my life. If you're not, we'll see you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as far as like parenting and any kind of advice, again, I think you just need to be an example, like the example.
And I think
of
also
who
too, like
you want your kids to
it's
be.
based off of what works for your household and
Yeah.
your family dynamic. Because, for instance, I believe back in the day, blended families are a lot different from blended families today. And like my brothers are going to grow up different than I did, than my sisters did, because we would see my dad that whole, like Wednesday and every other weekend crap. My brothers get to live the life of my dad one whole week, their mom one whole week. My dad one whole week.
50-50.
Yeah. And so like we didn't have that growing up. Right? So my brothers do. So
Is that by law or is that something
I
that
think
they came up with?
They came up with that.
That's
They-
an
that's
option.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, because sometimes
Because my
the
dad says
courthouse tries to
because
jump
they're
in.
boys that he wanted to be more because
Well-rounded.
to him it's like we were girls. My mom needed to raise us, and he was doing what he knew best as a man when it came to girls. Whereas my brothers are boys, so it's like, hey, I need to teach them like certain things that only they can learn from me.
Well, for sure.
So that's why so my brothers are going to grow up differently than we did, because it's like, even after my parents got divorced, my sisters were part of that whole visitation thing. So it's like they grew up, in a divorced home as well. So like now my brothers are, but my brothers get to see my dad for a whole week and then their mom for a whole week.
Women teach men a lot. They really do. Like if you're a rambunctious dude and y'all know who y'all are, and they normally have a little girl first. A little girl will change the way your brain works, bro. Like I'll never forget one of my homies. Like I'm talking about, if you looked at him wrong in the just in the slightest way, he's up one side of you and down the other, for real. And the first child he had was a girl. And then I saw him like right afterwards. This dude was the most calm, like cool-headed dude ever, because he didn't want to be that he didn't want to show that angry, like monstrous side to his daughter.
Yeah.
He didn't want to scare her off. And sometimes, you get blessed with a daughter. Like people try to say, a boy's a blessing, or a boy's a curse, or girls a curse. Children's a blessing all the way around.
Yeah.
And I think if you were to take that mindset when you're raising your children, just think, hey, look, they're just little children. There's one lady I see on Instagram all the time. She was talking about how her therapist fucked her up and was like only adults can be naughty or bad, which I don't believe in naughty or bad. I believe in like certain other things. But they said as a child's not naughty. It can't be bad because this is their first time here. Mm-hmm. They just got here. Mm-hmm. They don't know what's going on. It's your job to teach them. So to have empathy, and that's the biggest thing. People are so enthralled in their phones or caught up in their jobs that they don't have the time for empathy, is what they say. Empathy is the thing that all of us were born with, and the thing is, just with anything else, just like a muscle, you have to like train it. So if you want to train your empathy, you have to like remember when you were a kid. It wasn't that long ago. Most of us still live in high school. Oh, I remember when I was this badass jock and I was this quarterback. Yeah, you remember all that shit. What about when you were younger and your dad didn't show up to one of your football games? You felt your heart was broken. How about that? That's not me. My parents were always at everything.
I'm just saying, like, that up though, the word empathy.
Yeah, you have to have the empathy for your children. You can't just say, well, I don't have time for that. That's bullshit. What's the guy, the rapper?
Which one?
Well, he's from Houston. God, I think his name is. I'm gonna mess it up. No. He it's like Toby Ngakwe or something like that. No. He was in this. I think he was in the Super Bowl or something like.
No idea.
It's he says try Jesus, but don't try me because you'll catch these hands. That guy.
Okay.
That dude, he laid it out in one of these podcasts. He was talking. He's like, can you believe people out here hoeing out their kids? And when he said it like that, because it's a Houston thing to say, right? That means that you're letting your kids fall on the sword as opposed to just being there to shape their lives. And when he said that, and he doesn't, like, if you look at him, he looks like he's going to chop your head off, right? But he understands that he's going to be the rock or the wall to protect his family against the society that's out there. Mm-hmm. But he's never going to just let his kids fall to the wayside. He's going to be super involved. He is. If you watch any of his videos, his wife's in it. His wife's pregnant in half the videos that he shoots. They have the kids in there, and they're doing their thing because he wants to be a whole family unit. And I love him for that because he shows up. He's not going to sit there and, like he said, hoe out his kids. There ain't no reason for you to hoe your kids out. You're supposed to be there to be the example, to really have the empathy to show them, hey, look, I love you. The society might not love you, but you got love here. And I love that dude for that.
See, and I think, too,
I got to look up his name. My bad if I fucked your name up.
I don't know that.
I'm sorry for that. It's just like I'm in a moment. We're talking, and I should have had that, but we're just kind of like flowing or whatever. But I'll get the Google.
See, I think in general, like, think about it this way. Even if without a blended family, I think I've learned this from my mom. Being a parent, you do all the things that you can at your best ability with what you have.
At your disposal,
And you hope that as your child grows, that you taught them everything they needed to know. So it's like when they're going out into the world and they're doing things, you're just like praying behind closed doors and you're like, please God, like guide them, do this. It's the same thing. I think with blended families, you do the best that you can as a step parent. You do the best with the good intentions that you have, hoping that like, hey, as that child grows and flourishes in life, I'm hoping that I left something with them that they could use, that they would look at me and be appreciated. Like, and even if they don't, but I feel like all
like your mom's strength. You got that from your mom.
I feel like all children go through this. They just have to get a certain age or go through a certain experience that they're like, damn, my parent did this for me, or my step parent did this for me. Like, oh my God, like.
And some of the shit that they go through that you don't even know.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I didn't even know we were poor. Like, for real. My grandmother, we were on food stamps. I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know what food stamps were. When she'd show up, she'd have these. I thought they were coupons for real. Because we used to clip coupons.
We're going to Disney.
No. we used to clip coupons together. So we clip coupons, but she also had food stamps. So she'd turn all that shit in, and then she'd at the end they'd be like, your total is $1.68, and I'm like, man, we clipped some coupons, like for real. And I wasn't mad. It's because we were on food stamps. I didn't know that, but like she never let on that we were poor. You know what I mean? And I really appreciate for that. She is, even though like we don't talk anymore because there's some boundary stuff that she kind of messed up with me, but that's all right. She's the one who basically taught me that, you know, even though the world is out there, you have to show up like kind of like a duck, right? The duck is just sitting there rolling on the top of the water. But underneath, motherfucker is kicking its ass off just to fucking glide on that water like that. And when I see her and what she had to go through, I appreciate her wholeheartedly. But again, like, you know, there's only certain things that you can handle in your life as a grown up, and you can't allow your children to see that. You know what I mean? That struggle right there, it's not one of those things that kids are built for. You know what I mean? So
do you think sometimes I was gonna say, how old are you, Kareem? 40.
No, I'm
43.
No, 45.
Oh, okay.
I'll be 46 this year.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You all right?
Yeah, because I was thinking.
I see you really.
Over here. In a couple of years, I'll be in my 40s too. Like shit.
Oh, she ain't even there yet.
No, I still have time. But do you think? I'm trying to think, and I know this is not the same for everybody, but do you think that's why you haven't had children, because of how you grew up, like in your blended family? Like you waited as long as you waited?
No, I mean, mine was just, I was a dumbass. I mean, for real, like when my first marriage, I fucked that up so bad. Like didn't know how to be an actual husband, got married without any kind of like real training. And if you think about it, I'm emulating what I know. I grew up with no father in the house. I mean, my dad's around now, but when I was growing up, you know, he was off, you know, working his ass off so he can provide for me. And I was living with my grandmother, so he was basically paying my grandmother, like technically child support, but not really. But he was paying her to like raise me because he just couldn't be there like that. You know what I mean? And my grandmother taught me a lot of things, and I'm very appreciative for my upbringing. I wouldn't be the person I am today, and like be with the woman I am today, or even know y'all without that upbringing. You know what I mean? I'd be in a whole different. Because
I know people are different. Like when they come from blended families, there's statistics that show like kids from blended families or broken homes usually have like, let's say, teenage pregnancies and stuff like that. You know, and I'm kind of glad I wasn't part of that.
My stepmom, I'll never forget this. The first day I went to college, she leaned over to me. She gave me a kiss on her cheek. She goes, "I love you, baby." And she dropped a big ass box of condoms. She's like, "Don't come back with no babies." And she walked straight to the car. My dad looked at me. I looked at her. And then we looked at each other. And he goes, I listened to what she said. And he gave me a hug. And he got back in the car and then drove the fuck off. I was like, the fuck? Like, that was her. That was her like, look, nah, we ain't doing this illegitimate child shit. Like, you here for education. That's what you're here for. Once you get your education, you figure that out from there. Right now, I'm going to appease to my soccer people. There's a guy right now. He's a grown-ass man, a full-grown man, playing for Tottenham Hotspur. His name is Sun Min-yon. And Sun, what? Damn, I said his name fucked up. Anyway, his dad is his trainer. His dad is like, you're not getting married until you retire from football. Well, think about it. If you retire from any sport, you're going to be still in your 30s, probably in your 40s, 30, 40-year-old.
Yeah.
You can get married then. You still have a whole life in front of you.
That's true.
These kids are coming out of college, you know, hooping or playing football or whatever. They got a girlfriend. They break up with their girlfriend. They find some chick in college. That's also sucking away their time. Not saying that all y'all women are like that, but it's just one of those things. You can only give so much bandwidth. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if you're a college like hyper athlete,
not established yet.
When you said sucking away, I thought you were going a whole different direction.
Oh my God!
I had to take that out.
Jesus.
I really thought that.
And I'm the bad one, right? Am I the bad one? I think I'm the bad one. But what the fuck was that? Anyway,
I think it's based off of situations. Honestly, though, like. Every child's going to have their own perspective depending on the traumas that they've seen or had to deal with firsthand. Every step parent, depending on how many times they've been a step parent, because I know some people are like, they try to date a person with a child and they're like, no, this is not for me. Then they date another person with a child and they're like, well, they seem to have a better dynamic when it comes to co-parenting. So maybe this is a lot better for me. You know, I think it's just trial and error in all honesty. And it just kind of sucks because children do get put in the middle of things, even if it's unintentional. They're in the crossfires a lot of the times, and then they observe all of this, so it's just like, damn.
Yeah, but the thing is, with modern parenting, it's ready, fire, aim, right? Back in the day, people used to plan. It was like, okay, you know I'm ovulating on these freaking days. That's when we're gonna have sex, and then we're gonna plan for this. The child's are gonna go to this school because this is where our grandparents and everybody else went. Like, that's how the elite do it. Like, they know where they're going. And then if you go into other cultures, like Asian cultures, like especially in India, there's arranged marriages. One of my bosses, his wife didn't even know each other.
Yeah.
And they have one of the best relationships because they had to learn each other, as opposed to like, oh, I'm attracted to you. Let's see if we can make this shit work. It wasn't that. The family is like, okay, look, she's going to Harvard to get her doctorate. He's going to, MIT to get whatever. And I know that our families are cohabitated or whatever. They're
cool.
They're cool enough with each other that, that we can coexist. And even like, especially in Indian cultures, depending on what part of India you're from, you can't marry the other person.
Yeah,
so even then, like, they made sure they were in a certain sect of person. And then next thing you know, you see their trajectory take off, and they're making millions of dollars. They have beautiful children.
And the divorce rate is actually
divorce rate's not even hardly ever existent. And now people are here like, well, I don't think I am attracted to this person. Who gives a shit? Does a person bring some or add something to your life that you don't have? That's what you're supposed to be looking for in a spouse.
It's like someone said the other day, I was talking to about like divorce, and they were saying they felt like, because they're divorced, and they felt like it became like a popular thing.
Or being divorced?
Yeah, like,
I mean, we had a whole show about teen pregnancy
mid 2000s
in the United States. You know that we sensationalized teen pregnancy by making a whole ass show about it.
There was a show about it, yeah. Because it became a thing.
Yeah.
All right. Any last tidbits we want to share before we close?
No,
this
I
out?
think this is like a topic that's like, I feel like we barely hit the surface. It's so complicated.
It is complicated, and I think family dynamics also make it different.
I think what we could do. We can invite one of our prior guests back, and see if they have any.
Oh yeah, because there's a couple.
We do a part two.
They're a blended family.
Yeah, see if there's any kind of like, because you were talking about therapy, right? And we can see if there's any kind of tips or tricks or advice that they could give us, because obviously we're not experts. We're just living in this life, thing called life. But if we could bring,
and actually next Saturday, Kent and I are doing this. I don't know, conference or
this upcoming Saturday or Saturday,
April the 4th, I think it is.
Okay, so the following weekend,
yes.
the following weekend.
It's a Christian-based thing. It's called Blended and Blessed, and it's actually a 9 to 3, so almost a full day of just sessions of things, tips, suggestions, guidance.
Can we bring a priest on, or what do they call it?
Priest, but it's a
Christian
Christian
thing. You can learn
thing,
a lot from that.
Well, yeah,
but I'll see what they say, and maybe I can come back and share my notes with y'all.
Yeah, because they should have had those classes in the 90s. Just saying.
Bianca's like, I could have benefited from that. Damn it.
Just saying.
Well, and then also, like, we also can't just mail it in. I mean, there's so much knowledge out there now. There's books, there's podcasts, there's all kinds of stuff. If you really want to know how to, I'm just talking to the public now. If y'all really want to know how to like make the life that you want, I mean, I'm sure there's somebody put it in a book somewhere. So just don't be ignorant or naive and just think, well, I'll just figure it out as I go. That's not what this is. If you want to be better, have a better life, put some fucking time in it.
Yeah, I think as parents, we also don't want to be the reason that our kids or stepkids are fucked up. So
I think we all end up
don't
a little
be the
fucked
reason,
up,
okay?
just a little bit.
Just don't be the reason.
Nah, but yeah, there is a lot of resources.
No pressure.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. As always, like, subscribe, follow, and peace out. Thing. Sounds like there's some drama.
There's definitely
Called.
Oh my god. It begins. Life.
I see, like, everyone plays a part, right?
Yeah.
So,
Of course. Thing Called Life.